Alright. Hello everybody and welcome. We are going to be casting a first-person view video here of Serral on the ladder, and he has just queued into none other than Clem on Blackburn. This is just from his streaming session, I believe about a week and a half before I've cast this. I've been so busy casting DreamHack Masters, and I've had this lined up, ready to go. People have said, Serral played some banger matches versus Clem, you got to check him out. Now, I do apologize for the video quality. Serral's stream is only about 720p. It's pretty nice, but it does look a little bright, and, you know, some people think it looks kind of washed out. He has obviously the low graphic settings. It's all about kind of clarity. It's not the lowest graphic settings. Some of the things are on medium, but definitely he's got that gamma cranked up a little bit, as the pros like, so everything just kind of is super visually clear. But a first-person view of Serral, it may be a bit of a seizure warning needed, especially in the early game when he's jumping around. He is so bloody fast. So guys, if it's too fast, too much for you, maybe skip the first few minutes. He'll be spamming around a little bit less at that point, but it's going to be a lot of movement no matter what. Now, obviously, Serral is one of the greatest players of all time. He had an unparalleled streak in 2018 where he won every single series. I think it was 9 months where he didn't lose a single best of 3, which is unparalleled. With the amount of games, the amount of tournaments you play in StarCraft, and the many different strategic approaches there are, you always get caught out eventually. The fact that Serral was that dominant for that long, and the number of comebacks, crazy comebacks he made in the games across that time, truly an unparalleled streak, right? He is so fast. He's known as a very defensive, macro-oriented player. He likes to just scout and defend and play a perfect game. And this is something that Europeans have kind of said that's the optimal way to play, that's the best way to play for a long time. And yet Koreans were always consistently better. Korea, obviously the heart of Brood War, StarCraft 1. That's where players develop their skill sets and they learn how to just kill people and attack, and always timing attack-oriented in Korea, mixing in proxies and all-ins. They'd be good in the mid and late game as well, but nothing like a Serral who just defends, scouts, and gets to the next step and always wins the longer the game goes. Now, Serral was the first player who actually showed us that the Europeans were right. Now, I always said, look, I think the Europeans are correct. This is the technically perfect way to play. The problem is that humans aren't perfect. They make too many mistakes, and so the Korean method is better. Make your opponent make mistakes, put pressure on them, engage in an aggressive play, and look constantly for weakness in your opponent. Serral was the first guy who was like, no, I'm so good at scouting and defending, I'm never surprised by anything that comes my way. And like, he became famous for the Serral Zerglings, right? I cast a lot of his games at live tournaments that year, and it felt like, especially in Zerg vs Zerg, but even in the other matchups, there was always a Zergling in his opponent's base that just would not die. It was just running around in circles, spotting all the tech, counting the workers, seeing everything that was going to happen. His overlords would always be in these beautiful little dead spots where they'd poke in, see exactly what's coming, and he'd prepare just right for it. And that's why Serral is so beautiful to behold, because he really paved the way for that, and he influenced the meta in a huge way. Since then, not just Europeans, Koreans, Americans, all Zergs around the world learned how to play a lot more defensive. He completely changed Zerg vs Zerg as a matchup to players throwing Ling Bane and Roach into each other with timing attacks where they kind of always were trying to just surprise and catch the opponent off guard, to one where the standard is actually for the players to kind of sit back and scout each other with little Zergling squads and apply light pressure throughout the match while going into a big macro game. He's the one who kind of showed everyone this is how you play Lurker Viper in the late game, and everybody just could not hold a candle to his flame in that regard. Late game ZvT was dominant for him. Even Rogue, who was previously the best late game player in the world, could not stand up to Serral in Zerg vs Zerg. So this is all the mythology and the greatness of Serral, because since then, Rogue got even better at late game. Dark got better at late game. Every single best Zerg in the world got better at that defensive style, at that scouting style, and were less focused on timing attacks, because he kind of said, hey, this is what you can do. You don't need to be so worried. Now, Clem here catches him with the Cloaked Banshee, and Serral, his Overseer, is not quite ready. Good micro. Pulls back that Queen, transfuses it twice, barely keeps her alive, and he's actually planning to go Roaches here, guys. Ooh, I think he's going to play Cave Bob. Oh my god, I think this is Cave Bob from Serral. Okay, alright, okay. It looks like he's going to try and play a defensive Roach style. He might just go for a big Roach haul in, but definitely could be going Roach Hydra, because he's got that 4th base up nice and early. For those who don't know, Cave Bob is Dark style, where he just plays super defensive Roach goes up into Lurkers, Hydras, Vipers, and doesn't care if he falls behind in bases or workers, because he's going to get those really efficient Lurker Viper units up and win in the ladder stage. Now, Serral usually a little bit more efficient at getting up there, but in general, roaches don't scale well. So what you got to be careful with, roaches keep you really safe in the early mid game, right through the mid game, I would say, but they become very bad in the late game. So the trick is the Zerg, if you can find a good attack timing to get across and smash the Terran's third with your roaches, even if you don't win the game, trading your roaches efficiently before the Terran gets too many tanks and too many upgrades is very important. Now, the reason roaches are bad, a lot of people ask, well, why are they bad? Short range. They've only got 4 range, so they don't shoot that far. They're kind of chunky. They all get stuck on each other, and their supply cost is very high. So 2 supply units with not that much range, and they just don't do that much damage output. So they're really good because they're very tanky, but as you hit max supply, an opponent who's massing Marines and tanks just has a more efficient army, because a Marine's only 1 supply, a tank's only 3, 4 supply. I actually don't know the supply of a siege tank. I think it's 3 or 4. So somebody in chat can confirm that for me as we are casting this live. I honestly don't know. I know a Cyclone's 3, but this is a big timing attack. Now the Ling's really good for absorbing tank shots. It's a lot of Roach Ravager. He should have 1/1 upgrades kicked in for that Roach Ravager, but he's all focused on one angle. I would really love to see him split his army and come down the ramp if he's going to commit to this attack. He does have drones on his 4th base, but I think they were mostly transferred from his 3rd. He leaves 2 roaches there. Split the army. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Some come from the top, some come from the middle. You want them to be spread out, and you want to get on those tanks. He's going to go for it, guys. Here we go. Oh, he's looking for the biles on the tanks. Those 2 tanks, though, are very well protected right now, and he doesn't even finish that first tank. Oh, the Marines come forward. I think this is a good hold for Clem. I think this has not quite worked out. Now, he hasn't thrown away all of his units. He's kept a lot of Ravagers alive. Those Roaches are being annoying. He's picking off a few SCVs, but definitely not the fight he was looking for. You could see the way the Marines were forming a sort of battle line. The tanks all in a nice tight wedge, and he just couldn't get his Ravagers close enough to drop the biles on those tanks. So perfect positioning for Clem, and being held off so far. He is starting 2-2. Now, I wonder if that's melee Carapace and he's swapping into Zerglings, or if he's still going for +2 range. He's still making Roach Ravager, so it looks like he's going range. That's a good fight for Serral there. Clem a little bit ballsy, standing his ground and fighting. And still decent creep spread. There's always a transition from here, but it hasn't started just yet. And very nice counter drop here from Clem. Roaches are nearby, of course. He's pulling his whole army back right now. Oh, and Clem just says, well, okay, we're going to lose this. Just focus down some drones, get any damage we can. Queens, a little bit far forward there. Lucky he didn't lose those. If you lose your queens, your creep spread is never going to continue. We have an update from Jamie. Thank you, Jamie, our producer. Says 3. It's 3 supply for a siege tank, yeah. So a Ravager is also 3 supply for those who don't know. Very supply expensive for what a Ravager does. Obviously, it's very accessible. Roach Ravager really good in the early stages where supply doesn't matter as much, but not going to scale too well. Right now, Serral already butting up on that supply cap of 200. I'd like to see him break these rocks down to the left side as well. And oh man, this is an awkward fight, but those tanks are a little exposed. I think he got the biles down. He does. He gets 2 tanks. Ooh, the Banshee's causing him problems right now, but the Marines do attack into a big arc of Roach Ravager, and if those biles get that would be huge. They do not, though. He's lost all of his queens. And Serral, he's going to have to build some more queens, bring his injecting queens to the front. Otherwise, these Banshees just going to keep doing damage. Roach Ravager does not shoot up. And there we go. Oh, he doesn't have an Overseer here, though. Oh, these Banshees. And notice they're focus firing his Ravagers. Oh, Serral's triggered right now, guys. Serral is not happy with this. I'm telling you that. But, okay, Overseer's here, and the Banshees staying a bit too long. Do go down. Now, he's going to pick off... Oh, if he can keep the tank count low... Oh my god! Oh my god, he got the bile on the tanks! 2 tanks go down, the other tanks aren't siege right now. But there's too many Marines, he's got to pull back. He's got to dodge that slow zone. Don't pull through the slow zone. Notice he tries to steer around that. It's a lot of Marines. He doesn't have Infestors or Banelings yet. So that just the force of bio. He waits for Stim to run out so that there's another Stim used, which means all that bio is really wounded, and then he pulls back before the tanks can fire on him. Really good play here from Serral. He's like, just let those units weaken themselves by stimming repeatedly. Maybe, just maybe, my 2-2 Roach Ravager can actually hang on. But yeah, he's still out there kind of looking for this army. He does find that drop. We'll get a good trade on that one. Clem standing and fighting. Maybe a little bit more than he should. I do feel like if Clem can max out here, that it's game over. Because I don't see a transition from Serral just yet. But if Clem keeps moving out, which Clem loves to do, he'll give opportunities to Serral. Like those last 2 tanks that got biled. This is why you never want to have your tanks stuck right on top of each other. You always want a gap between them. That way the biles can't hit 2 tanks at once. And oh, those tanks are going to get big shots. Oh my god, yeah, he wanted to close the distance, so Serral moved his roaches forward, but those tanks started getting big punishing shots because of it. Oh, he wants that factory. If he can kill that factory, he's gonna lower the production. Yeah, Serral wants it real bad. So he biles it. He does focus fire it. Good lift from Clem to keep it alive. And you know what, guys? I think Clem might have given him a few too many opportunities. Now, that being said, Serral needs to check the top right base with a roach. There could be a 4th base just that's actually landed in the midst of this, because Clem is like Maru, one of these Terrans, one of the best in the world. Why? He takes fights other Terrans wouldn't. Number 1, great micro and macro. Number 2, number 3, has no fear. And this is both his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. This is why you see Maru and Clem just kill themselves sometimes. Yeah, there's a 4th up there. There's a 4th that Serral let go up. He's got to break him right now, dude. He cannot play this against a 4-base Terran, but he's not finding the damage. And yeah. He notices the planetary and Serral taps out. He says, no, this is not working. Let's hear his analysis on this one.
I mean, I think I actually maybe could have won if I played a little bit better, but I did not. I mean, I think I actually maybe could have won if I played a little bit better, but I did not play good enough this time.
I don't know what he said at first, but then he said I didn't play good enough.
Fine. He didn't do any damage with the Banshees. I didn't really like. I don't know why I hide the roads, because he already knew about the roads were. Oh, actually he didn't. Well, but like I said, you always go tanks on this map blindly anyways. So I mean, if he knew about the roads, I'd guess. Well,
it's so fascinating to hear someone as good as Serral, even at the end of a game, right? To not be able to remember. He's like, oh, why did I hide the roaches? He knew I had the roach warren. Then he looks and he's like, oh, actually, he didn't know. Oh. But actually, wait, it doesn't matter, because Terran is always going to go tanks anyway on this map, because tanks are so good on this bottom path of the map. So he's like, So he's kind of tossing it up and having to think about it. It's always fascinating to see even one of the best players in the world, at the end of the game, kind of think one thing, check it in the replay, and go, oh, actually, no. Think one thing, oh, check the replay, oh, actually, no. This is really fascinating, guys. And we hear that Clem and Serral rematch the next 2 games as well. So let's keep going. I'm going to fast forward this VOD, and we're going to watch the next couple of games in a row as well. I'm sure there's some great analysis there. Definitely make sure you guys go and subscribe to his stream, but it will be a bit of a slow burn. Knowing the pro gamer, while they're trying to kind of process what's gone wrong in a game, it's almost always going to be very slow, methodical of them just trying to process and think through, and they're not really usually vocalizing most of it. So they'll say 1 or 2 things, but they're not going to vocalize even probably 20% of their thoughts. He's a pro gamer. He's not there to educate and explain every little thing going through his mind. It's probably so fast that he actually can't vocalize it anyway, right? A lot of it's sorting things out. It's hard to vocally express exactly what he's saying, right? So we're going to go straight through to the next game. And guys, this is going to be Beckett. This is a great map for Terran. But Serral actually has a habit of winning on the worst maps for Zerg. Submarine, he dominated Terran on. Beckett, he dominates Terran and Protoss on. I don't know why, but there is something about when Serral is put on a disadvantaged map with a short rush distance where defensive Zerg should not be as powerful, he gets stronger. He's so good on these maps. He goes pool first here because obviously the Reaper gets across the map so early. You need to go pool first. It means your Queen's out to defend, and also you can run Zerglings around. So the Terran is usually going to have to keep the Reaper at home to defend his command center from these early Zerglings. I always open pool first on this map. And Clem, seeing those Zerglings, is going to know his Reaper can't really risk moving across the map. Now, Serral's kind of acting like he might be going for a Roach build. He's using the Zerglings to deny scouting. So he doesn't want to let that SCV get up his ramp to scout. So this is him wanting to bait a bit more of a response out of Clem. And notice his Queen's out to the right, and that's because he expects if the SCV comes in for it to go to the right and try to dodge off creep. Now, as it is, I actually think, in my games, I would always just send the Zerglings across the map, because letting the SCV see your 2 Zerglings at home, Clem goes straight across the map, and he scouts in. He sees that Ling Speed's not started super early. So now Clem knows there's nothing to worry about. Clem got away with being greedy here. Now, if Serral had snuck 2 more Zerglings out just before that, or while the SCV was buggering around with those things, he could have denied the SCV building the command center on Clem's side. So Clem took a little bit of a risk here, But against a guy who's as predictably defensive as Serral, assuming he's only building 2 Zerglings off his pool first, that he's playing a late Ling speed into quick third hatch, are these really gambles? Not necessarily. That's Clem playing the player. And the Reaper confirming that this is like super chill and safe. Yeah, the Reaper finally goes down. It's not a bad macro opening. It's just that I would assume behind this, Clem's probably just gone third command center. He had all the information to know, don't need a second gas. Don't need to be going quick starport here. Take a third command center, go straight to that next stage, and have that bio parade coming across the map hard and fast. Oh, we have a translation, by the way. Apparently, Serral said, I think I could have won if I played a bit better. When did you learn to speak Finnish, Professor Nuggy? Thank you, mate. A few people caught it. Apparently, a few people speak fluent Serral. I don't know what it is about. I am pretty good at understanding accents most of the time. But I catch maybe like 60% of what Serral says sometimes. Like, unless Serral's very clearly enunciating his words, I'm just like, ooh, I'm gonna need some subtitles on that. I don't know why. It's, it's and his English is perfect as well in terms of you know, his vocabulary and everything. It's just not always the clearest. The Lings and the Queens here are trying to push back those Hellions. Now, it does seem like from the scouting there was no quick third command center, so it's more of a Hellion, just standard Hellion Banshee coming on in. We're not going to see the super quick third CC, which is why we're seeing Spores go down, because he's like, ooh, 4 minutes 40. That's actually pretty late on those Spores. I always tell people, like, get the Spores later rather than earlier. It's better the Banshee gets in and kills 1 or 2 extra drones than you building your Spores 30, 40 seconds earlier than needed. So I often tell people, you know, even 445 is fine. But at pro level, normally it's like right on 430. You would want to snap those Spores down. As it is, Banshee hasn't arrived yet. Spores are all finished. He is totally fine. And Serral, he really wants to get this creep out. Those Hellions are annoying him. He's going to split his Queens up now. And he's actually gone for a second gas here. He's got very quick 1-1 upgrades. Notice he doesn't engage the Hellions with the Zerglings there. Only if the Hellions dive past the Queens and go really deep on creep, then he will kind of spread his Zerglings, and he's going to look to envelop. The problem is, if you just attack move at the Hellions are going to quickly turn around, pull back, and as your Lings chase them, they will clump, and he will focus fire the Hellions, and he will eradicate. He will get a massive bit of splash damage. So you kind of need to always be trying to spread out and surround. Oh my god! Ooh, okay. The Hellions don't want to risk it. The Banshee's being very annoying. But, oh, he does straight into that Spore Crawler detection just slightly. Queen's pulling back to that Spore range. And this is the problem with the double upgrade build, guys. You don't have a quick lair, so you're very reliant on Spores. And this is why I actually often build this Spore out in between the natural and the third preemptively. Serral's only done this once the Banshee started causing him damage there, and he's handled it okay. I think he only lost 1 Queen. I personally am so worried about those Banshees taking up residence between my bases that it creates like a really awkward position, and then the Hellions can hit. Oh, he's looking for the surround. Clem tried to juke it. Clem keeps changing directions, but I think Serral's got that, mate. Yeah, he does. That's a big surround. I told you guys Serral's good on these small maps. Look at his creep spread now. He's cleaned up the Hellions. The Banshees aren't really causing him trouble. He's got Overseers now. Oh. Five gas. So because Serral's playing 5 gas, I think he's just going to play a Hydra Lingbane Lurker. Now, if you're playing Mutas, you need the 6th gas. You need all gases on 3 base. You might even get gas on your 4th. But in this style, you just get 5 gases. So there's 1 gas short. It's either missing in your main base or your 3rd base. Usually the main, so it's harder for them to spot. And oh, great run by. The Banshees, though, are always a problem for this sort of thing. I don't think he... Oh, he does get the tank. The tank friendly fire actually helps him out there. Now he's going to try and engage this. Lingbane Queen, a couple of transfuses do go down. He's looking for the surround. Good pick up by Clem, does get out of there.
Bad counter. Well, I guess I got at least...
He's saying it was a bad counter, it wasn't really worth it. And he's like, well, at least I got a siege tank, maybe. But he realizes it was a lot of Zerglings he died. And the fact that there was 2 Banshees, in general, we've talked a lot in the past about how those 2 Banshees, if they just hang above the 3rd base, they defend so many counterattacks throughout the course of the game, they end up stacking crazy value. Clem, great focus fire. Serral there is like, you piece of shit. He's like, he does not... you see the way he's microing his Baneling? So that's a really advanced trick. If you know your opponent's always going to focus fire the Banelings, you barely come into Marine Vision. Marine range, and then you pull the Banelings back, and you go in and you go out. And the Marines are going to keep trying to focus fire the Banes. And each time he does that, they're not attacking the Zerglings, and they're kind of just doing this. And the Zerglings are just clawing their shit down. So it's actually this like really advanced maneuver, which you kind of need to do if you're very short on Banelings and you're worried about them just focusing the Banes down and then just standing their ground and the Marines and Medivacs kill all the Zerglings. Like, Lings can do okay against Marines, but if you get enough Marines in a ball, they kind of all cover each other and all shoot at once. It's very hard for Zerglings to do. He's got 2 Banelings behind. Is he going burrowed? Oh! Clem getting a bit antsy that time. And he's got burrowed Banelings out there, guys. Smallest map in the pool, burrowed Banelings. The map with the least space to actually get the burrowed Banelings to work. And he's going for it. Oh, wow. That's super sick. Clem once again going for the focus fire. That's actually wild. This is actually a 4-gas style, chat's pointing out. Oh, he actually didn't take one of the gases on the 3rd base or the main. Okay, so this is a 4-gas. This is an Ultralisk style. So 4-gas is even more committed to Mass Lingbane Queen. No Spire, no Hydroden. Usually with this style, you just go Infestation Pit, up to Hive, and you just make Ultras. And it's just an abundance of Lingbane. I often do this off just 2 or 3 gases where it's super Zergling heavy. Oh, the Banelings! Oh my god! He set that off. Yeah, he got a massive hit. He knew it was getting such a good hit. He doesn't even look at it, guys. That's how good Serral is. He killed about maybe 13 Marines with that. It was really effective. Oh, and he clicks down the Widow Mines. Oh, he gets the Widow Mines without them firing. That's massive. He's got a Ling squad on the bottom left defending the drop there. He's just taken the teeth out of that push on the top left as well. And he's got a 5th base and a 4th base. And the idea with this is, yeah, you're a bit short on gas, but you can make so many Zerglings because you've got so much minerals, right? 60 drone 3 base economy. Once he saturates the 3rd, it's 76 drones. And then the 5th base is mostly for transferring workers from your main and natural to. So you can hang at about 75 workers. Doesn't sound that high, but because you're building mostly minerals and mining mostly minerals, you actually end up with a huge army. He's going to attack. There's a Liberator harassing him. He does lose a lot of Lingbane to some Widowmine hits in this run by. I don't know if it was super worth it there. Still got good supply. He does pull some of his Lingbane back. Has he got that Hive finished yet? I think we'll glance back in the main shortly and see if he's got the Hive. Yeah. Oh, he's going to go Lurkers off it. Okay, so this is interesting. He played it a bit lower on gas, later Hydras. Oh, another good Baneling bomb. It's a good section of those Marines. Split Zerglings off to it to take the Widowmine hits away from his army. That Widowmine hit was pretty deadly, but as was that one. He's going to have to pull back. He's not happy about those. Those Widowmine hits were really, really good from Clem. But as I said, so he's then just plonked down a bunch of gases, 4 gases at once while going up to Hive, Hydroden, and Lurkers. And this is absolutely insane. Oh my god. Ooh, okay. Okay. And he retargeted his Widowmine. Clem, did you guys see that? Instant replay. Instant replay. So look at this. He tries to split his Zerglings so that they're going to fire there. And then you see Clem retarget the Widowmine into the pack of Zerglings. Serral realizes, quickly spreads, and gets it out away from the center of his pack. These guys are so good. It is insane. Oh my god. That is actually so sick, dude. For those who are wondering, you can see Widowmines on the ground. And you can also see the dot coming out of them. But it's still the speed, the just muscle memory to react so quickly. So impressive. At this point, I'd want to be doing a run by, but Clem's locked things down pretty well, and this map's pretty small. He's going to try to go forward with some Lingbane. Good Widowmine hit. This is bad for Serral, dude. If he can't, he needs his Lurkers now. Clem's actually gotten too deep in this game, guys. But he's so efficient at respreading creep there, cleaning up Widowmines, and he's got Lurkers out. He's got Vipers gathering energy, and he's got Lurkers. This turns the situation upside down. You don't want to be stuck on Widowmines at this stage as Clem. You want tanks, you want ghosts. Liberators are okay, but mostly tanks and ghosts are what you're gonna want to use. So Clem almost wants to be dropping him right now. He's got to keep these Lurkers off his back for a little while because the Lurkers have so much range. Now, he got hit by that Widowmine in the top. Widowmine doesn't kill a Lurker, and if he burrowed quick enough, which he doesn't have Talons yet, but he might have burrowed quick enough, it would have only taken the 40 splash damage. Good Widowmine hit. Another good Widowmine hit, but the Parasitic Bombs are killing the Medivacs. The Lurkers do get forward. As I said, that can cause a lot of problems for the Terran player, and he did take full damage on that Lurker in the top left. Widowmines and Marines here are in trouble. Yeah, he's actually gone Lurkers, guys. It was just a Mass Lingbane, and then 4 gases and hive all at once to go Lurker Viper. So he is actually playing that Lurker Viper style that we know and love. Something that Clem's gotten really good at dealing with, though. And on such a small map, I feel like the Terran is kind of favored. Serral's got burrowed Zerglings on both 5th base locations, and he's got his own 6th base up. So Serral's doing a very good job of controlling the map. As long as he keeps Clem off of 5th, Serral's winning. That's a big if, though, because Clem, he's already floating down to the bottom right. We can see what his intention is there, and he's going to move that Lurker down. He's trying to just extend the problem here. I think it's got Adaptive Talons now. He's going to try and move those Lurkers in on that base. Does take a Lurker hit there. Though that time they burrowed quick enough, so he only took the splash damage. He's just going to send 1 Lurker in to harass the mineral line. So these Lurkers are kind of just harassment units at this point. Scan will come down. He's going to try and inch forward and clear the sensor tower out. He's looking for a big push. Oh, there's no tanks here, guys. It's just bio parasitic bombs on the Medivacs. But he doesn't have Lurkers to back this up, so he goes in, pulls out. He's got the Nidus Worm. Oh, he wants the Nidus Worm. Okay, but he's not going to show it yet. I don't think he has the Nidus loaded. So he's morphing Mass Lurker. He's going to try, but I don't know if this is going to work, dude. He's going to set that up on pervert mode in the back of the base. I think he hops in that Nidus right now, surely. He's got the Nidus up. Okay, he's trying to threaten at the front to distract. He's trying to scare Clem, pull his attention away. I think he's rallying just all the Lurkers into the Nidus, and he is! That Lurker morph actually timed out perfectly. I didn't think they'd be ready in time, but Serral's game sense is just beautiful. He's going to take out all the production in the depots. This is so sick, man. Yes, some snipes and scans will take down some of the units, but that Overseer is there. It's going to be really painful to go through the production to clear that up with bio. And this is going to cause a big problem for Clem. Now, Clem with great snipe micro. He's losing a bunch of bio, but he's getting rid of all the Lurkers. If Serral can kind of remax and then take out this 5th base, that's the game-winning move. But he's got to crack through. He's going to try and do it now. He realized a lot of that army got pulled away. Oh, okay. The Widowmine, not too bad. Lingbane's going to roll in. The Lurkers will deal with the bio coming down. The Lingbane should just barely take out the Planetary. He does. He breaks it. And he's still got 2 Lurkers in the back causing trouble. He's going to split those up so that they can't all be dealt with by 1 scan. What he's doing right now is he's creating problems for his opponent. He says you're going to have to slowly, methodically clear these out. These aren't necessarily to win the game. They're to create problems when Clem is already getting overwhelmed on his 5th base. Oh my God. Ooh. These seconds on the game timer seem a bit fast.
That's what we like. Is he running out of scans?
That's what we like. Oh my god, Serral. Serral's so happy.
That's what we like. Is he running out of scans? He is indeed. Indeed he is.
What?
That's what we like. Is he running out of scans? He is indeed. Indeed he is.
I like that. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Yes, guys, we are playing at 1 time speed. We had people in the chat debating that this was 1.25. It's totally normal speed. Now, he's pointing out that Clem actually ran out of scans, and that's something I never thought of when playing Lurkers, is he knows that this game didn't go late game enough, right? A lot of players, they don't distinguish between different periods of the game, right? A lot of players, they have this issue where they're like, oh, he'll just have unlimited scans. If he gives Clem another 5 minutes, guys, Clem will have like 6 more orbitals up, unlimited scans, right? He can see everything. But Serral knew, hey, he's on 4 base. He's still just trying to get a 5th. He hasn't had any chance in this game because he has such a good feeling for the game to build those orbitals. And Serral knows as they match up one more time. Look at that MMR, by the way, 7.2 versus 7.1k. But he knows that he was running out of scans. So just by doing enough Lurkers in enough different positions, he actually knew that Clem was going to be running out of scans. And there's always a point as a Terran where you're doing great versus Lurkers, and if they do enough to spread you out and make you scan here, make you scan there, you run out of scans, you're just dead. Because you just cannot fight. And the Lurkers just get in a position and there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely deadly. Why don't Terrans make a Raven or 2 in these kind of situations? Well, you need medevacs really badly. So swapping a starport to attack lab, time consuming, very APM intensive, you got to find space for it. Then you're building Ravens, 200 gas a unit, incredibly expensive unit, when if you've played very tight, your econ is already very nicely balanced, and you're building ghosts and things very, very gas expensive. So you're cutting medevac production, which means if you lose all your medevacs, you're screwed. And then you're building ravens, which is a really slow unit. Not just that, it actually fucks your ability to control. As a Terran, you're microing in multiple situations. It's all very manual. So the Raven, every time it gets boxed, you box your army and try to stim. Stim doesn't work. It selects the Raven. I actually lost a late game TVP the other day because I still had my Raven alive and it kept getting in the selection and messing up. You're used to tabbing between bio and ghosts. You can do that smoothly. You add a third spellcaster in there. It fucks everything up. So that's number one. It actually hurts your ability to micro. Talk to pro gamers and they will confirm this. People will be like, oh, come on, they're too good for that. There's a reason why Euthermal always throws his Ravens away. Because he knows that as the fights get really frantic, you always see Euthermal, TVT, TVP, split his Ravens off and just go drop auto turrets. Can't you set Raven priority lower? There's no setting priority in StarCraft. There's no way you can set the priority. So that's one thing. The other thing is the Raven dies. It's slow. It struggles to keep up with the army. And they can just abduct it and kill it with Hydras or Queens. And they die very easily. So it's just this thing where it's this extra thing to manage that's incredibly clunky. So generally scans is, even though it seems expensive and so on, it's the better solution. People did ask years ago for Ravens to actually get, or the ability to choose the priority of units so that you could, fix that up. And it would have really helped Terran. But because they've got so many siege units and specialty units, right? If you're playing that bio composition especially, this is why this is why Vibe's big on guys make Thors and Hellbats, right? Teaching people, make Thors and Hellbats, make those A-move units that do the job no matter what. It's also why I often tell a lot of players, hey, if you're not super duper pro, going a bit more Marauder heavy with your bio composition is pretty good because Marauders are tankier. So like you fuck up with Marines, they all die. You fuck up with Marauders, it's not as punishing because they're much tankier. So in general, going a bit more Marauder heavy is just a good general rule for a Terran player who's not a GM playing with 300 plus APM. Yeah. He wasn't sitting well at his computer, so he lost his Zergling. Game 3. This is the deciding match. We're back on Blackburn. So does Serral choose to go once again for those units? Does he once again choose to go for the Roach style? Or is he going to do something completely different? Why do GMs go more Marine heavy? They do a lot more damage than Marauders. They're cheaper and you can produce them out of reactors way faster. You'll see more Marauders in the later stages. Marauders good versus Lurkers. They're good versus armored units. Lurkers, Ultras, Roaches. And they tank a lot versus Banelings as well. So you add them in once you've already got a lot of Marines. They're really useful. So normally, like in Terran versus Zerg, it's 1 tech lab, 4 reactors on your first 5 barracks, and then you'll get 3 more tech labs, and that's your full barracks production. So you can build 9 Marines and 4 Marauders at a time. Or, sorry, 8 Marines and 4 Marauders at a time, or 8 Marines, 4 Ghosts. Gives you a good balance. Against Protoss, where there's a lot of splash damage pretty early, Archon, Storm, Colossus, obviously a big one. You usually see Terran go 3 tech labs, 2 reactors with their first 5 barracks, and then add 3 more tech labs. So much more Marauder heavy against Protoss because the Marines just get shredded by all that Protoss splash damage. So Serral's going to be going out here. He's got that very early structure in the wall. I think it's just a Baneling nest. So I don't know if he thinks it's a Hellbat timing, but it seems kind of weird that he would put that down after seeing the command center. Because he's seen the 3rd command center on the high ground. So it's really hard for them to hit a sharp Hellbat timing, and he has such an early Baneling nest. Ooh, Clem just commits. Serral just A-moves the drones there. Takes it on the chin. That's a bit expensive. That's a sharp exhale there from Serral, realizing how many drones went down in that fight. So Serral got punished a little bit there. I want to show you guys that one more time real quick. He wanted to make sure the Hellions didn't escape, right? And Clem realized, well, there's no escape. We're too deep on creep, right? So Serral tries to move past, and that actually allows the Hellions to get on the inside. Whereas if Serral just A-moved, the Hellions have to just run back. Because the Lings were on the left side, but the Lings actually shifted to the right, and the Hellions came to the left, and it really messed him up. Thank you, Burning, for the 2-month resub. So he actually took a bit more damage there than he wanted. On the other hand, as long as you hit your creep perfectly, if they throw their Hellions away, you've got no pressure on you for probably another minute and 10 seconds, maybe even, until the double medevac marine drop arrives. So you want to utilize this time to just spread creep because there is no pressure on you, nothing to interrupt your macro, and you can see Serral's doing that really well. Moving out to a 4th base, and he is going roaches one more time. His creep spread is just out of this world. It's going to break these rocks down, which is very important. Liberator tries to siege on the edge of his queens. Clem just trying to be annoying. Clem has built a few more Hellions, but Serral's going to catch those. He just A-moves it there. He's like, I guess I should try to surround these, but he's like, nah, we won't get it. Break the rocks, more important. So that Liberator's still being annoying. Now, why does Clem siege it up just off the edge there? The reason is, so if Clem does an F2 or select all army, that Liberator won't get any move commands because it's sieged up. So he can F2 to gather his army to do things. And the Liberator's not just going to be like, oh, okay, and fly through the queens in a spore. So he's just saving that Liberator for later use. Where are these players from? Who should I be going for? Well, we're watching from Serral's point of view. Serral is, of course, the Finnish phenom. Finland, a very good esports country. A lot of cold countries, very good at esports. He's up against Clem from France. Clement Desplanches. Best Terran vs Zerg player in the world versus one of the best Zerg players in the world. And Clem definitely, I think, is the favorite in this matchup in the last few months. Playing Raynor, playing Serral, I actually think Clem is pretty much always the favorite. Dark might be the only Zerg, maybe Rogue as well. Dark and Rogue, I think, are both very tricky and very different to Serral and Raynor. And Clem needs a bit more practice against them before he can take him out. I think it's only a matter of time there, to be honest, because Clem is just so good in this matchup. I think he just transferred all of his drones to his gold, so don't worry. That Liberator didn't kill as much as it looks like, guys. And that Liberator is still being a nuisance. Clem getting some value out of it, despite how well defended it's been so far. And same build from Serral. Oh, don't kill your Ravagers, dude. Ooh, takes 1 bile. And it's 8 minutes, and he's supply blocked. Oh, this is really bad, guys. He needs everything here. I mean, I know Clem is very greedy against these plays, so there's a chance. There's always a chance. Don't count it out. Those tanks are going to be just behind that bunker, though. Yeah, they're always over there. Oh, and one in the mineral line as well. So hard to get to. Look at this. Serral's literally trying to break the depots down just to open an avenue into that mineral line. Queen's here with transfuses, adding a bit of anti-Banshee firepower. Not that there's any Banshees this time around. Remember, it was just Hellions into Libs. So by not committing to Banshees, Clem has gone to the Marine tank focus earlier because he didn't invest in Cloak and 2 Banshees. Just 1 Liberator. Much cheaper investment. 4th command center already being finished. Insane greed here from Clem. To put this in context, guys, you do not need to even keep all your SCVs alive. Against this sort of attack, you can lose your 3rd mineral line. As long as you keep your tanks and a good section of your Marines alive, you're winning as Terran because your army is just getting stronger and stronger. The fact that he got a 4th finish puts massive pressure on Serral to break him. Serral's like, dude, I'm fucked if I don't drone really hard and go hive tech or kill him right now. It's one or the other, and he's going to go for the kill him right now. Those Marines get stuck in the mineral line. Some big biles do land. Taking some big tank shots though, man. Oh, there's a tank! Stray tank! Serral, he's still working the edge. He's looking for the angle. Dude, Roach Ravager coming in. Still, these buildings, they all provide such a good defensive wall. The bunker just won't go down. And he dodges all the biles. I think Clem's got this, guys. As Serral's supply is still good. He's microing well. He's not throwing his Ravagers away. He's trading the Roaches, pulls back. Trading the Roaches, pull back. The Ravagers never die, right? And this allows him to get value out of his biles. Roaches are very cheap. They're very replaceable. Oh, tanks in the open, guys. Tanks in the open. He gets 1. And I wish he got that other tank as well that was kind of unsieged on the right side. And he's also forcing a lot of stims out of Clem. Notice Clem's out of medevac energy. So the engage-disengage is actually working really well. Look at that. The engage-disengage is working so well for Clem. For Serral, because the Marines are not at full life. And Clem needs to be much more cautious with how he hits that stim button from now on. Ooh. Oh my god. Okay, so the Roach Ravager, he's gonna go. This is it. That's a lot of tanks on the right side though. He's realizing that right flank is kind of getting fucked up, man. And he's thinking about going for it. He's gonna go. He's gonna go. He's got to get that tank in the mineral line. Oh, he's trying to bile those Marines. The Marines stutter step on his top flank. He biles, gets some big biles on them, and he actually clears out. Oh man, we didn't catch it on screen, but I'm gonna show you guys that in rewind. He killed a lot of those Marines. Let's watch that one more time really quickly. So look at the multitask. So he's like, cool. He thinks he's going to be centered around the third. And so he's like, okay, cool, we're going to get you. Your army's going to be here. But actually, the concentration of firepower is a bit more to the right. Yes, the Marines are there, but the tanks are all here. There's 1 or 2 down there. And most of his Marines come to the right. So Serral wanted to kind of come in with 2 wings. But what ends up happening is one wing realizes it's almost hitting the center of the army. And Serral, let's watch this on half speed so I can actually commentate it because it happens so fast. So Serral realizes, okay, tanks in the open, get the triple bile, but then he realizes that's too many Marines and he instantly starts pulling that top wing back while shoving in harder with this wing. He's like, oh, all the Marines are here. These guys need to get in here and kill these tanks on the bottom. So you're going to see he pushes in on the south, dropping biles on that tank. He pulls them back because he sees the bio come back and then he goes back in. And then he's like, oh shit, Clem's actually super committing on the top wing and trying to crush his flank. And look at these biles. He just dropped biles there. That's so hard for you guys to catch. Here, he's going to drop biles about there. He's going to look down there and he's going to look back up. I'm going to pause it for you guys. It's hard to catch. Obviously, this is not the best recording quality. So he's going to pull these roaches back. The Marines are going to be shoving up this angle here and he's going to drop a few biles there. And I guarantee you those hit big, even though it's off screen. So just watch. It's going to happen in a moment. So he's here, he's moving these roaches. And he just dropped a bunch of biles there. We don't see them land on screen. We just see the tail end of them. But he actually lands pretty damn well with them. Did I not just mute that? We don't want that. Half-speed audio is bloody brain damaging. So he actually gets some big damage. And then he's like, quick, kill the factory. That's where his tanks are coming out of. He's lost a lot of Ravagers. This is a much more expensive fight for Serral. Let's return to normal playback speed here. And watch how this goes from there. Still not over. Remember that Clem has a 4th base up to the right of this. But he's lost a lot of his tanks in position. Oh, those 2 tanks still causing problems, man. These transfusers on these queens actually add some really good value over time. Serral, though, no longer maxed. I'd love to see him break the rocks to the top right. Open up a new angle. He's going to take a 5th base. Break the rocks, dude. He's going to look for exposed tanks. He finds one. Oh, that's like a free tank. Basically a free tank snipe. There's only one tank shooting him right now. There's only, okay, the other tank is there as well. But look at that, the biles on the tank. And notice he doesn't just run forward and shoot the tanks, guys. This is the #1 mistake people make in this scenario, because every time you run forward, all your roaches, they all mega clump up. He just tries to bile, and every now and then he'll grab a section of units and run them forward to click on a tank. But more often than not, it's just keep his units spread. Otherwise, the tank splash damage just devastates his army too fast. This is beautiful. And these queens have dropped maybe 20 transfusers over the course of the last 3 or 4 minutes. They've healed so many of these low hit point roaches and ravagers back up. It's wild. Not to mention, you can also heal low hit point roaches by turning them into ravagers. They pop back out at full life. The midlife crisis of a roach. Buy yourself a new ravager skin and come back out feeling fresh and youthful again. There's still a 4th base. It's not over till it's over, but with the tank count reset, that's a huge problem for Clem. Oh, he's going to try and bust up the ramp. I mean, this ramp's so deadly. Bit of an overextend from Serral there. Oh, no. Oh, he might have just thrown this game, guys. Oh, no. That's so painful. He lost a lot of units pushing that ramp. He did get a tank, though. He's going to drop an infestation pit, so he's thinking about the next step. I think Serral's like, yeah, I don't know if I can break a planetary, but as long as I keep him on 3 base, it's okay. He's got good creep spread. He's got a bit of a creep shalong moving forward here. And it's crazy, guys, because when I do this sort of roach play, it's like an all-in. It's 1 attack, maybe 2 attacks. When I see the way Serral does this, just engage, bile, disengage, engage, bile, disengage. Just absolutely shockingly impressive to watch. And I'm really keen the next time I try this style to do more of this and engaging and disengaging. And obviously, if your opponent doesn't have the defenses, just kill him with the first wave. But I used to think of it so much more as a one-punch all-in. And Serral is showing us the sustainability of this push if you keep the Ravagers alive for the most part. Careful learning from Serral. He plays so fast his tactics don't work for us, plebs. Oh, for sure. I mean, he's doing some amazing micro. You would need to scale this to your own level. For sure, for sure. But definitely, like, you just want to pick up pieces, right? There's always a lot of players who uncritically want to just copy what a pro does without thinking about it. You always want to think about it and try to repackage just little pieces of it. That's the best thing. Whenever you watch pros, just take a little piece every time. Don't try to copy an entire game plan as if it's, oh, he did a build and he did this and then this. You don't understand why he's doing things, where he's adjusting, that sort of stuff. You want to keep it a lot simpler for yourself. That Ravager being really annoying with Corrosive Pile. Very well done. It's like, come on, mate. You're never going to mind this. So it's one of those things where instead you want to basically say, oh, wait a second. He's not running all of his roaches forward in a ball to click on the tanks. He's setting up a big pre-spread and he's A-moving. And then he just focuses on dropping biles. That's something anyone can apply, right? What do I see most of the time? People grab their roach ball, they clump it up as much as they can. Oh my god, the fungals! Oh, I love fungal with Roach Ravager. It's such a good addition for dealing with these masses of bio. And now he's got the hive up. The question is he swap Ling Bane? No, he's going to go Lurkers. Okay. Yeah, I never go Lurkers off the Roach Hydra anymore. I really should do it. The Roach Ravager. Now, he doesn't want to go heavy in the Infestors, guys, even though they're so good. When the tanks are sieged, the Infestors aren't very useful. They're only good at catching the bio when it comes a bit too far forward. So he kind of got one really good ambush off. And he's going to leave it there, just 2 Infestors. Because the Viper is going to become the much more important spellcaster. This is going to force, just showing these Infestors, makes Clem be more cautious, jumping on him, moving around the map, forces him into heavier tanks. Vipers are really good in those scenarios. Counter drop does come in for Clem. Serral's going to try to jump on that. Big thanks, Fizz Serpent, for the 5-month resub. Nurture was doing the 2 Infestors in 2016, says Bullia. And that was back when it still locked units in place. So you could just lock a medevac with a fungal and just corrosive bile down the medevacs. Roach Ravager Infestor was legit because you didn't need any anti-air except Infestors and Ravagers back then. But nowadays it doesn't completely lock them in place. It's just a massive slow. So it's very hard to land that pinpoint accuracy corrosive bile. Big counter push coming for Clem, and I think he might break him, guys. He's going to get in there just before the lurkers are ready. Clears so many of these roaches. Oh, great fungals. And he combos it. And the lurkers do finish. Oh my god, Serral barely defending this push, maybe. Still a lot of tanks behind this. His Viper's gathering energy. He's got to abduct the tanks. Oh, and he gets them. He gets the tanks. And notice the Marines were trying to focus his Viper down. But he just went in, out, and then when the Marines backed off, then he got that second one off. Oh, this is so good. He's got adaptive talons from how quick those lurkers burrowed. He might even have range. He does need to transfer workers to a new base, and that top base is looking mighty exposed. I think as Serral right now, you're hoping Clem doesn't scout it. He's going to come up and skirmish with just Roach Ravagers Zergling. It's only a small army for Clem. Remember, Clem's worker count might only be like 45 or 50 this game. He might not have properly rebuilt after losing all those workers earlier and kind of being on the back foot. Clem might actually be on a very big army, but kind of low economy. So I think both players are in a bit of a stunted position. And, oh, watch out for those biles, Clem. Clem's also got to watch out for other things. Those queens keeping that lurker trapped in a bit of a cage. Lurkers will come. He's got abducts. So he's just going to abduct those tanks. And look at that. Oh, he doesn't get the second one. Parasitic bomb, though, on the medevac says, get the fuck out of here, Bio. Well played by Serral, who's hanging on for dear life. He's got a random swarm host he accidentally built, so he's decided to queue that to go harass the high ground base. the base from the high ground. That's so sick. The one Hellmuffin. That might actually do a surprising amount of damage, guys. The random swarm host, if you use it well, look, it's queued on the bottom of the map. You could see it down there. And he's queued it to throw a locust into the mineral line. I bet you guys that kills a bunch of SCVs. If it's a planetary, maybe not. I hope he looks at it. Yeah, it's an orbital. It's the main orbital that floated down there. So he's actually going to kill a bunch of SCVs. Hey. He will take out that tank. Oh, but the bottom. Oh, Clem's too fast. Clem's just caught him out of position. Now, Clem did use his stim to get across the map, I think. But, oh, what do? Do you abduct the tanks? Blinding Cloud. He goes for the Blinding Cloud. It's a lot of lurkers. I thought Clem had the setup. And he just runs on top of him. 9 lurkers burrow on top and he blasts that army. He blasts that army, man. Oh my god. Wow. Oh, that was a really bad trade for Clem. And I think Clem's back. I think Serral's back in control now. Lurkers are he's gonna put one behind the gold base just to deny mining there for a little bit. Another lurker will go up there and try to deny the top right. He's gonna try and take that. Yeah, that bottom base is really important. Serral's he's running out of minerals at this point. And he's maxed. Both players in a bit of a budget situation, but as a Zerg, you don't like this because Terran has orbitals and he can float his command centers down. So the low economy scenario is kind of dangerous. You want to do some damage with this sick army. Oh, so many lurkers coming in. And they are basically stim-packed siege tanks, remember. Permanently stim-packed siege tanks. Lurkers with the talons are so fast. And he's going to go for it. Yeah. And there's not much ghost energy. I think losing that push down the bottom, that's so important because now Serral's able to push this. And look at that. He's just abducting ghosts and marauders into his army. He's moving the lurkers forward. He's got so many lurkers. He can just kill him. Serral realizing, he's like, that's it. No reason to waistband it. He literally drops trowel. Pulls out his 17 lurkers. Ooh. Oh my god, and he wins the series 2-1. Let's hear Serral's last thoughts on that.
Not the most... Well, I don't know. We'll see the replay, I guess, here.
He sounds disappointed.
I feel like I was winning really hard at one point, but he does have the fourth base, so I guess he just moved the SCVs. I don't know, I just can't break anything with this push.
I can't break anything with this
push. I feel like
push.
he was giving me tanks there and here as well, like there's one tank literally misclicked.
Yeah, he's talking about how the tanks got misclicked in, he was picking off enough tanks, but he couldn't actually break him. He's like, dude, I thought I was winning so hard with my trades with the Roach Ravager, but then he's like, but he did have a fourth base, didn't he? So he just moved the SCVs there. So he's kind of looking at this and trying to, right now, close the gap between what he thinks happened in the game live, right? His game sense. And where was the economy actually? Because there's points in the game where he's like, I think he was down to 50 workers. Was he actually at 65? You never know for sure. There's so much going on in the game of StarCraft, and it's really important to improve your game sense, to always look at what you think happened in the game and then compare that with the replay immediately. And this is why pros are... I always talk about how you should play the rewind game to get better in StarCraft. You should always click rewind like Serral's done. And you should say, oh, when I forced that third to lift, and that's the point, I thought I was way ahead. I think he was down to 45 SCVs, and I was at 70, so I was way ahead. And you look in the replay, and you realize you weren't at 70, you were at 64. And you're like, oh, I actually thought I had more drones than that. And you realize, oh, I forgot to start +2 carapace. Oh, shit, I thought I had that the whole time. Like, you know, you notice all these things that you didn't notice in the game, or you notice, you know what, he actually saved more SCVs than I thought. Even though I killed the production of the factory and the depots, he pulls this SCVs over to the right to the fourth base. And you go, oh, shit. So I actually misjudged this. And it's really, basically, you pick a point in the game where you think something was a certain way, and you think you had a certain advantage or disadvantage, and you kind of commit to that mentally. You go, I think this. And because that's what you're doing throughout a StarCraft match. You're always confidently making an assessment of where you think the game is in a certain relation. And you're never completely correct. But as you get better, you get pretty close. And then you compare it with the replay, and even Serral is like, oh, actually, this happened. Oh, shit, I wasn't as ahead as I thought. Oh, but I did have this other advantage that I wasn't accounting for. So that was up. It's fascinating to look at. Even he is breaking all this down, and he's checking the production. He's going, man, I thought I was breaking him here. But look at the SCV count, guys. This is the point in the game where he's realizing, wait, he still had 70 workers. He was up workers on me, and he just lifted the orbital. I didn't kill it. Serral was realizing I was not as far ahead at this point as I thought I was. Let's listen to his thoughts a little bit.
Like it's bad for him. He did have time to get 8 Traxes as well here.
8 barracks.
So his production is pretty nuts.
His production's nuts.
I don't even kill the SCVs here. Like,
I didn't kill the SCVs here. So he's realizing that worker count.
After this, like it's bad for him. It actually looks pretty good for him. Yeah, it actually looks very good for him, doesn't it? Yeah, 3-3 like done.
And 3-3 is almost done. So Serral's realizing he was way more fucked at this point than he thought in the game. This is awesome to see it kind of dawning on him. He's like, I thought I was killing him. I was actually not in that great a position. Now, obviously, the supply is still pretty good, but it's Roach Ravager supply. 3-3 advantage. This is a much closer game than I think Serral realized in the heat of the moment.
I'm losing her. I actually didn't think I was
I'm losing here, and I didn't think I was.
that much at least. I was way too late with the hive.
The infestation in the hive was way too late. This is so friggin' awesome. Chat's also just asking if we could see that lurker fight one more time, guys. Absolutely. Let's watch that last lurker fight one more time as we finish up this video. Just that final one, I imagine. Let's take a little look-see at it. So basically, he's just got so many lurkers here, and you can see he's just kind of moving on forwards. And I mean, it's pretty much game over at this point. Unless you guys are looking for one of the other ones, I mean, he just marches forward. It's just, and you can see he boxes sections of the lurkers and burrows them a few at a time. Maybe there was a big fight before that. I don't know if there was. It's kind of him engaging everywhere, to be honest. I think this fight here was probably where he won, though, right? He runs forward, and you can see he's got all the lurkers on a control group, but just watch how he boxes the lurkers and just burrows, and then burrows them. Yeah. He just boxes, burrows, drops the blinding cloud, boxes, burrows, and he boxes them and burrows it so quickly, you almost don't see the box finish, and the lurkers are already burrowing. He's just so quick at it. His mouse movement is really, really lit. And that's just a beautiful fight. And now, obviously, this was Clem getting caught out of position. He didn't have any medevacs, but if he was sieged, and he should have sieged up here, spread his bio out, drops a scan, these lurkers evaporate. There was no buffer. This was, honestly, this position that he got should have been probably a game winner for Clem. But because he's clumped, and then the blinding cloud gets time to get in here as well, he could have already killed 2 of those lurkers, if not more. And he could have been spread enough. Bio in a spread wrecks lurkers, right? It really does. If you've got the bio spread out, the splash damage doesn't hit them. So it's kind of the same with siege tanks, where you can see an arc of marines engage siege tanks, and they wreck them. And those marines are in a ball, and they get wrecked, right? It's the same with lurkers. Lurkers are like siege tanks. I always tell you guys, take all the lessons you've learned from playing against tanks, and just think of the lurker like a siege tank. If you can surround it, you destroy it, right? But if you're clumped up, and then with blinding cloud, and you're not sieged, this is devastating. Clem caught not looking at his army there. It was a blunder from Clem. And this was a high-risk way of engaging this, but Serral knew he couldn't let him into his main base. He needed to just engage the army, and it did work out. A miraculous engage, bit of a screw-up from Clem, to be honest. Guys, thank you very much for watching this best of 3 first-person view video of Serral. Don't forget to follow twitch.tv/Serral. He is the best Zerg streamer in the world. One of the greatest of all time. Many would say the GOAT, simply because what he did in 2018 was absolutely unparalleled. And he dominated Maru whenever he played him in that year as well. And Maru was dominating the Korean scene, similar to the way Serral was dominating the rest of the world. Serral dominated Maru when they played, and also won the world championship versus everyone there. Definitely a contender for greatest of all time. The fact we get to watch him first person commentating, absolute treat. Go follow him, give him your subs, and big thanks for watching.